process. This is the reconvening of our deliberations, so it's a continuation of the previous meeting. There are, for the start, apologies from His Worship. He's on his way to Mangakino, to the Pouakani marae, as is Kylie. And I haven't heard from Danny. So apologies from Danny.
I don't know Danny.
You have that from Danny? Apologies from Danny?
Yes.
Right, awesome. So unless I've misinterpreted this, we're starting on page 124. Sorry, can we have a mover? The apologies. Thank you, Anna. Seconder. Thank you, John. All in favour? They're apologised for. Moving on. Unless I've misinterpreted this, Ken, we should start at page 124. In diligence. Yep. So that's the submission category report, submitters comments, and the staff comment and reply. All right. Thanks, everyone. Over to you.
Hope you all had a nice long weekend. Yes, so today the purpose of today is just to reconvene and just look through the submission category report and just check that you were comfortable with where staff have gone with some of the responses to some of the comments from submissions. So as I pointed out in an email earlier, this report does not capture every single comment made in submissions, but it is some of the key ones. They were asking quite specific things in their submissions, so around the business case for the EUL or a question around rating and things like that. So what we did is we pulled those specifics out of the submissions and went out to staff within the organisation and asked for some responses or comments back on those, and that's all been captured in this report. So yes, we just wanted to check that you were comfortable with the direction that we have gone with that feedback to submitters, and we'll look to craft up individual letters to submitters with this feedback. So this is an opportunity if you want to elaborate on any of those aspects. The other thing I will note is that because they were pulled out of the submissions, it doesn't some of them don't capture the full submission. So for example, where Ngāti Turangi Tukawa submitted 118 have discussed some of their aspects around engagement for long-term plan and things like that, we will make sure that we provide comment around that to make sure that there's a full, well-rounded response provided to them. It's just, if we started trying to capture all of that in their several submission points in this, it probably wouldn't have made sense.
You know, did you expect, in terms of how we work through it, did you expect to sort of work through it at a sort of a headings or topics level? Is that?
I suppose I was going keeping it whether if anyone wanted to, how we work through that, yes, but otherwise it was more so if each of you did have any comments to just discuss them rather than working through it bit by bit, so that we try and reduce the time.
Oh.
Sorry, Rachel.
I felt most of those, I mean, it was clear that they were staff comments and not the full reply, but in general terms, I thought you've done really well. I didn't really see too much that I wanted to change, other than, as you say, some of them were very brief, but just identified that you're going to go into a bit more detail for the actual reply. So I'm happy with most of what I've read it.
Yeah.
Just through the chair, and not to speak for you, Councillor Taylor, but there is some work being done around CCTV and the number plate recognition work. So I just wonder if perhaps the CCTV responses can just be fleshed out a bit, that there is some internal work being done led by Virginia. That be right here, or just these internal work being done around the funding and
actually been led by the community team.
That's been for.
Yeah. And Hadley is nodding. And
Yeah, so if we can just split it out a little bit, because it just, although it's not totally smart cities, it is, there is stuff being done in that space. Yeah.
to be fair, that work post-dated the submissions and the response to that, so it's an add-on, yeah.
Can you expand on that? The number plate recognition, I'm just interested, are you getting, I mean, because I know that's actually quite hard to do. Are you saying you use the CCTVs?
No, number plate recognition is very easy to do. It already exists. There is one camera in town now. There is the ability to install several others. They are not live. They require a data dump periodically, but they are connected to police networks. So when an alert is triggered, there is a response immediately, but the information sent into it is not live data in the sense it's not connected in real time to a database.
Oh, so is the forward way looking forward to that, say I want a stolen car, number plate comes up and then it gives an alert. Is that what it sounds like?
So not wanting to truncate the conversation, that's a detailed question which is not really part of the submissions of what we're doing here today, but I'm happy to take that offline and talk to you about it separately. Yeah. So sorry, in terms of a proposal going forward, where are we at?
So I guess we've got two options. One is if you're generally happy, we can take any comments and we can take them now or take them perhaps offline. Or we could, or if you believe that it's worthwhile, we could go through it.
Yes.
What I've got is a sense around the table based on the conversation we've just had in the last couple of minutes that you're generally happy, and that we're talking really just as the anything by an exception that you want to raise.
Well, let's get a sense of that. So, yeah, just a quick show of hands. Are we generally happy with staff response to the submitters who have written in, or do we want to go through either one by one or by broad category topic, or do we want to leave it as it is and speak to this by exception if we've got a specific issue we want to address? So we're happy with what of the three options I've just laid out.
I've almost forgotten what they all were.
Let's start again. Option one, happy with where we're sitting? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, can I just make a comment?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, it's generally fine, but I mean, just an example I'll throw in here from Richard Hoadley, staffing at page 147. Yeah, I'm not saying this is wrong or anything. I'm just saying staffing at council is another big concern. Salaries have been increasing and staffing numbers increasing when both need to be audited by council. Savings could be made, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the response could have been, well, actually, staffing has increased or this much, or salaries haven't increased, or I mean, you could go, I mean, you could throw all sorts of stuff at it and reply in detail, but instead we've got a thank you for your comments. We continually review our operating costs. I mean, that's not wrong. It's just that we're not going to the nth degree to. I mean,
no, we're not. So based on that, what I'm hearing is, do we want to look at this by exception? So if there are one or two responses here that we want to highlight, rather than saying we're generally happy. So how about we just do that? Then we capture all of our comments. So that's one. Are there any others? So what is your suggestion in terms of a response for that submitter?
I don't have any. I don't. If Richard is not happy, this is the way it goes. I know they'll either just go in a huff and I didn't answer my question, or they'll dig deeper and he didn't answer my question. I mean, it's a two-way conversation sometimes.
Through the chair, that's not really a question. He's made a statement. That's it. What's he asking?
Yeah. I know. So fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Yes.
Sorry, through the chair, they were actual points in the consultation document either.
So as a suggestion, thanks Anna, could we include or in addition to those comments, say that council have voted that we will pay the living wage as opposed to the minimum wage,
Equivalent.
or equivalent to the living wage that we have a starting cap?
Uh,
Yeah, we do.
But not as a
Pay the
policy,
equivalent to.
not as a policy, so,
Yeah.
so we pay the equivalent of the living wage.
And comments along the lines of that, like everyone else, we are subject to the pressures of inflation. It's just the nature of life at the moment. We're not excluded from that. But just for clarity, we're not live streaming this, but we are recording this for downloading later. So are there any other?
Should we just say like we're continually prudently reviewing operating costs?
That's fine.
It's a phonetics.
Does that help, Kenan?
Yes.
Okay. Sandra?
I do generally agree with all the comments that were made. I think they actually answered the question exceptionally well. But I have one question on one submission that I would like to
Yep.
comment on. So it's on page 149 and it's Māori Turangi-Tongariro Charitable Trust.
Yep.
And I did bring this up when we were talking about the rates increases, that their rates have gone, that the valuation for the property in Taupo-Kaingaroa, which goes on the State Highway 1, has gone from 794,000 to 10 million. And I don't know whether this answer here answers that question. And I don't know whether Māori Turangi-Tongariro actually included. So do you know, in the discussion done? No. So they make the point that their land is undeveloped, and that is absolutely true. And so they are questioning a significant rate increase. So my question is that I don't believe that answer answers the question.
So, we can certainly
Oh,
take it on-
sorry, I just didn't know. Hang on.
apologies, we can certainly take it on board because their question was actually around that particular land block, and we've responded more generally. I would imagine that they received a letter and had the opportunity to raise an objection to that valuation, because that's certainly the process that follow, we have to follow. I can't actually answer if there's been an objection to that particular thing. Certainly take on board the point that we should answer that.
I suspect that they might have, and I don't know because I haven't discussed it with them, but I suspect that they might have thought that perhaps putting a submission or something in here might have got more of an in-depth answer. But it just is something that I know I did raise at the time and still there.
Thank you. Karen?
Just through the chair, is there going to be further discussion, I guess, around the submission, in minute detail of the submission in response to that as a part of the co-governance meeting? Or as far as you're concerned, the issue is done? Because I would expect, I think from a co-governance perspective, there may be only the submission of the co-governance itself, also.
I'll let the chief executive answer. Yeah, go.
So I was probably going to answer that in two parts. I expect that there will be a conversation with the Tūrangi-Tongariro Charitable Trust and Taupō in relation to this submission. I'm not sure it will come up tomorrow. Well, if it comes up tomorrow, obviously we haven't concluded the annual plan process, and so they won't have had the responses. I guess it's not on the agenda tomorrow, but there's obviously further discussion to be had, both in the co-governance committee and just like we've got other groups that are meeting between now and the end of June, and these responses won't be with them. Does it help? So two different processes.
So I guess the dilemma is groups or individuals make submissions through the annual plan process with the expectation that the matters that they have submitted on will be addressed through this process. However, there are a number of other processes which run in parallel to this, where the questions or the issues they raise are best dealt with. Rating on individual properties is one of those things. It's dealt with through a completely separate process apart from the annual plan submissions. And I guess the key is making sure that the response addresses the concern, but doesn't necessarily provide the full answer. It directs them to the appropriate process, which runs in parallel. Yeah. So we're not raising expectations that we can't deliver through the annual plan submission process, if that makes sense. Yeah. But yes, I suspect yes, there will be ongoing conversations, both at the co-governance committee and separately with staff within the finance and rating team. Duncan.
Oh, just one. It's actually the Turangi co-governance committee again, page 170. Just that they're inquiring about the turtle pool being free. So there's a bit of an answer there. Doesn't sound very encouraging that we might consider it. Is that all right, you think, Sandra?
Thank you, Councillor. I made a few suggestions and I will keep fighting this battle, which I've been fighting for a number of years. That the turtle pools for Turangi school age children should be free.
Oh, so it's saying that it'll be part of the long-term plan review.
Yes,
So that's what's happening.
Yes,
all right,
yes.
okay.
And I expect that we will take it to that process.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does that answer your
Yeah,
Thank you. Any other specific line items we want to highlight by exception? Chairman.
I was just reflecting on page 170, the children's playground in Turangi, as a result of this horrendous crime, and then the money in question is still being held by TDC. I assume is there a little bit more detail to go with that, because they were quite passionate about that particular point, that money was being held by council for their playground. Are we able to give them any sort of back history as to why that's not exactly? Yeah, I just think that's quite general, that reply, and they might need a bit more info.
I can talk to that, Julie. I can just say.
So,
I just want to know about the response.
yeah, fine. Sandra?
Yes, this was brought up recently at the Te Papamārearea Park Playground Steering Group. Ngāti Turangi Tukoa has expressed their views on the matter, and we are currently working with council staff to spend that money in an appropriate way. And Turangi, David has suggested that we do a tutorial for the tutorial pool, which would satisfy the concerns of various members of the community.
Yeah, so my question is that going into the response? Because the response that we see here is fairly generalised.
We're talking to the people concerned.
We probably want specific details to do, but we can just fix it out.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Sorry, through the chair, we probably wouldn't put specific details because it hasn't been confirmed, but we'll just flesh out that response a little bit to allude to the fact that they are. Yeah.
All right. Yes.
So just in regards to the Mangakino-Pouakani representative group submission, there were just a few things that weren't.
Page you on?
Yeah, no, it's not on there. It's not things that weren't included from the submission. So, so one of the things that they asked for was if we can. Yeah, if we can lobby the central government to increase the rates rebate and widen the people that, I'm sorry, if it's in here, I could.
Oh, that's all right. See it?
Just through the chair, Kirsty, I did have a go at a mower for you last week.
You did say that, yeah, but that's not included here either, like as in.
That was actually in another report that was included in the hearings package, which was the capital program around split proposals.
Yeah, and and so if the response to that is just to, that could be part of the LTP process potentially. Yeah, and the AED units, were we looking at, yeah, I know that's part of the grants process, but we were looking at potentially putting it on, oh gosh, what are the ones where we have a 5-year agreement? Yeah. Partnership agreement, yeah, so that potentially could, and that would form part of the LTP too.
So definitely the AEDs are in the submission summary report, because we've actually had an offline conversation between multiple staff about the response that's in there.
Yeah.
I think the response in there is related to maintenance as opposed to action. So
Yeah, no, I did see that. I just thought it was that was all. Yeah, that one. Yeah, and if that's part of the LTP process too, just so that they can see.
yeah, so there's offline conversations around maintenance.
So Kendall, you got the reference to that submission?
Yes, no, I don't want to sound like a bit of a geek, but I know where most of them are in this report. So the only one was Kirsty, the first one you mentioned was just around the continuing to advocate for the local government. So I'm pretty sure that's in here somewhere. And if not, as I mentioned, we will be ensuring that there is a full response going through to make sure that if something was missed, we can pick it up and put it in that letter to them.
Yeah. And so what are we doing? What are we doing for that? Is a response from the council to lobby for that increase?
This is lobby for the rates.
Rates rebate.
Rebate.
Yeah. It has increased for.
Yeah, I think when we talked about it originally, we were going to send something to the local government minister, I think, Kendall, I think that's what we had said, the local government minister and potentially our local MP.
Just through the chair, rates rebates through DIA though, isn't it?
And it is something that LGNZ have advocated for quite some time, so yeah.
Duncan.
Oh, yeah, just draw attention to page 174. Just another comment of mine. I'm not necessarily saying do this different. The top one, Greg Harris, just because this is something I've been advocating for myself. You have traffic jams, which is very unusual for a small town. A big focus of this would be top priority in my thinking. Maybe some redirection of expenditure is required. It's kind of what I've been angling at to get some funds in the Taupō Centre. But I noticed their response is noted. Thank you for your comment. Not that, oh, thank you, we're looking at it and we're considering doing some stuff, but no, noted. Thank you. Just that's it. That's it for me. It would be nice to say something. It would be
More than a word.
It would be nice to have something a bit of positive action, but yeah.
Got that one, Kendall? Thanks, Duncan. 174 of 199, any advance on that? Cool. Kendall, back to you.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I do have an email from Danny with some of his comments. So as Julie said before, if you do think of anything, please feel free to get it through to me in the next week. I will be trying to get these letters done before we get the annual plan adopted or very shortly after. So yeah, if you've got some extra comments that you do think of afterwards, feel free to put me an email.
Yes.
Sorry, one more thing. So when we come up to do the long-term plan process, are we able to get like a run sheet or breakdown of the things from the annual plan that were noted to come through to the long-term plan? Because yeah, I know that you guys think about that when it comes to us, but just so that we can make sure that those things are ticked off, then you know they have been thought of again, not lost.
So, you have a,
Yes, I did. I can't find it. I know that Eric Olsen, when he submitted about the leaf sweeper. And I don't think it's in here.
It's in the other, it's in the capital program.
Oh, okay.
Which was in there. There was actually a comment from the transport team to say that because COVID came along and messed a few things up for some terms of words there, but the roster has been redone and they are looking to make it more regular. I'm just trying to find the comment for you.
Oh, okay. Right. No, I just said I know that I will be asked about it.
Yeah, it says the existing maintenance contractor has had resourcing issues over the last few years due to COVID. A roster / notification of when and where the sweeping is program will be communicated to the community in a more proactive manner.
right, where are we at? Back to you on the Ken.
Yeah, so like I said, if you have anything else come up over the next week or so, just flip me an email and I can make sure we incorporate that into the response. But other than that, if you're happy with that, then we could probably look to finish up. I don't.
Well, just one as I spotted, 172. Was that girl Nicole Gray in Turangi? She's advocating for a paid position, wasn't she? Well, I didn't seem very clear at the time, but she's pushing for council pay for a youth worker. Is that an actual idea that we? I'm not fussing myself, but she was clearly advocating. That's clearly what she's advocating for.
I'll let a CE respond to that.
Yeah, I guess we've been through a process of establishing the community development, community engagement team, and we have a person in there that's specifically working. Part of their role is that we're in the youth space, so I don't believe that we're in a position to have a dedicated youth worker as the submitter suggests, but we have been through a process to look at how we structure and how we resource engagement.
That's given an important statement, given that it's a portfolio of an elected member. I guess that's for a number of years.
Councillor.
Yeah, so probably that one.
Right, so we're just about at the end. It's important if you've got any other comments or any other questions here, now's the time to put them on the table and let's debate it, because from here, looking, yeah, well, we will next be presented with the annual plan to be adopted, yeah?
Yes.
So this is the last bit of editorial license that we have. So Kendall, Nick and the team will be away presenting us with finished copy, yeah? So any more for any more?
Just a question though. I mean, this is just my perception of feedback to things like this. We'll give them feedback. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, nothing blows up too much on this. I mean, some people get frustrated they didn't get the answer they wanted, and well, they could flick back and dispute stuff. But it's
Or I guess, just to answer that from my own personal point of view, the worst thing that can happen is people lose confidence in the ability of their ability to influence process, and it makes a mockery of going in for consultation if we don't take it seriously. We don't read these things, we don't debate them, we don't address carefully what people are asking. That does not mean that we agree with everything that is submitted, because if you look at that, we would be schizophrenic, because some people are asking for one thing, other people are asking for the polar opposite. You can't do both. Quite simply. But I guess what that's worst case scenario. It's a reputational credibility issue, but we can't do everything. So I would say the number of people who've submitted is really positive this year. That is a significant uplift. And the matters or the range of subjects that people have submitted on and the depth of their submission is actually really encouraging. It's not just yes or tick the box. People have actually taken time and invested some energy and some thought into their submissions, and that's commendable. It's actually really good. It's healthy, which puts an onus on us to do what we've just done, to take it seriously and to work through it in a systematic way. Again, doesn't mean we agree with everything that's submitted on. Right, process from here. If everyone is happy with that, we'll leave it to the team to go away, finalise the document, bring it back for approval at the next or
On the 30th of June.
30th of June. It's already right. The date is set. Train is in motion. Julie.
So just the other thing to add, and I'm looking at Laurel while they speak, is when we close this meeting, we will actually make some public comment around the decisions that have been made. So because people are very interested in particularly some of those topics. So we haven't made any media statements, media releases based on decisions today, which you've still in the same meeting. But when we close today, that will be the first step. So particularly around the decisions, some information to come out. The finance team will be very busy doing the financial information that goes in the end and bring back the document. I just wanted to make you particularly aware about the communications that resolution.
No, so we did all the resolutions last week and adjourned just so that we could come back and just talk about these openly. So I think the process from here is we can close and have a closing karakia as well.
Right, that was just the conversations having up here. So once we finish, last chance to have you say we're going to close this meeting, having adjourned it a number of times. So that'll be the end of this, early compared to what we've got on our diary, so it's good. Right.
You don't want to hear about my checkbook after?
Maybe over lunch.
Have we got lunch?
No, we don't. You'll shout. All right, that's it. Declare the meeting closed. We have a closing karakia. Karen, can I ask you if you're happy to do that for us? Thanks very much.
Kia ora tātou, minoi tātou. Ai ki tia te rongo mai whiti o tēnei wānanga tuku I kō kia ui, a tuku kia ia, nuhi au tūru tapu nui kia wate a te tinana, te hinenga, te wairu tarata katu, minoi ki runga, tūnuku ki raro, I rai rongo whakairea ki runga kia tīna, sing nā hui e.
Good, thanks everyone.